Imagine a warm summer day where the waves are gentle and the sun is bright and the sky is a blank blue canvas. Can you see it? Now, toss in a stench of dead fish, some manual labor, and the whine of a 20-year-old engine in the background. And there you pretty much have it. That sums up my summer as a commercial lobsterman. I've been lobstering out of Marblehead for 4 years now, the past 2 of which I fished 25 traps commercially, which means that I sell my catch to a wholesale distributor. So now, after my marvelous description, you may be wondering why I've continued to lobster for so long and why I plan on lobstering again this next summer. And what does this have to do with kinship anyways, and establishing relationships? The answer is, lobstering gives me a purpose to be on the water almost every day, to be one with nature, and to do the work that I enjoy, at least most of the time. It gives me time to reflect and the opportunity to share my experience of nature with others. At the start of the summer, I spent a lot of time with my dad lobstering. 2 or 3 times a week, we'd head out in the early morning when the seas are calm and just be together for a couple of hours, functioning as a single unit as we haul, check, and bait traps. As I'm sure all of you know, the relationship between an adolescent boy and his father can be tense at times, and I am no exception. But on the water, it all felt so natural. After a couple of weeks, we were so in sync that we didn't even need words to communicate. Each of us knew what the other was thinking and doing at all times. The ocean has a mysterious way of promoting deeply interpersonal relationships. When you're on the water with another person, and you're both thinking the same thoughts and experiencing the same things, there's an instant bond formed between 2 people, like that of between 2 brothers. For lobstering, the shared emotion is often one of excitement and endless possibility, because you never know what you're going to find in the next trap. It could be a couple of keepers, an egger, some shorts, or even a spider crab that looks as if it's from an alien planet. Later in the summer, as COVID cases started to drop and people ventured out of their basements to see if there was more to life than binging Netflix, I would invite friends and classmates to come out lobstering with me. Lobstering is a great way to get my more landlocked friends to come into town for the day and do something fun and active on the water. Especially in this era dominated by technology, it can be really hard to form meaningful relationships that aren't through Snapchat or Instagram. So it's so unique to get to spend time on the water lobstering without any technology grabbing away our focus. When was the last time that you spent 3 hours without checking your phone a single time? I bet that has you thinking. Another bet, I bet you can't remember. Anyways, between sports, school, and pretty much everything else I do, I always put a lot of pressure on myself to do my best. Because of that, even during the summer, I'm usually under a lot of stress and anxiety. But when I'm on the water, it feels like I'm weightless. The vastness of the ocean puts my problems in perspective for me, and the repetitive motions of lobstering act as a sort of guided meditation that leads me towards a greater sense of self. Even now that my boat is out of the water, I have such a strong spiritual connection to the ocean that I find myself biking to the beach quite often, just stare out at the water, as if I'm catching up with an old friend. So how you been, I'll say. And the ocean usually doesn't say anything, but it will wave back. Get it? Anyone? Wave. My spiritual connection to the ocean also extends to all of its life forms. One day this summer, there was this seagull that followed our boat for an entire morning. There he is. That is Fred. Or at least that was when my dad and I decided to call a new friend. Even when we would move on to haul the next set of traps, Fred would somehow track us with his radar senses and always stayed close by. Sometimes, we'd think that we had lost him, but then, invariably, we'd glance away for a moment, and when we looked back, Lo and behold, there was Fred, right off the side of the boat. After a while, I even started to think that Fred might follow us back into the harbor, and I really wanted him to. But Fred was as wild as the sea breeze itself, and eventually flew back out towards the great expanse from which he had come. Fred helps to illustrate that nature is unpredictable and beyond the grasp of human control, and that is a good thing. Nature is like the lobster traps that I pull up. You never know what you're going to find. Some days, it might be nothing at all. But other days, a minke whale might surface 30 feet away from your boat and then gracefully submerge, as if never there. And with our heads in our phones half the time, are we often aware that nature even is there? However, if you take the time to look for it, when you least expect it, you'll find nature right off the side of your boat and know that it was never really gone. There are great natural cycles, like the tides of the ocean, or the four seasons, that are so ancient and sacred that just feeling your presence is enough to deeply affect any of us. It makes us human. When we lose connection with the fundamental nature of ourselves and of this planet, we become agitated, anxious, and frankly, not fun to be around. So I'm going to leave you today with a task for you to go out and find your own way of interacting with nature. For me, it is lobstering, but for you, it could be camping or hiking or even gardening. Everyone has some way that they can interact with this constant rhythm and pulse of life, even if they haven't discovered it yet. And trust me, when you find your lobstering, the relationships in your life will flourish, and you'll feel more grounded and connected than you ever have before. Thank you.